Thursday again, and this is your Tech from Texas, and this is ADRAMADA. Another Dave Rush Ask Me Anything Digital Alchemy. Hey, come for the shirt, stay for the news and the project. Wow, I can't believe it's Thursday again. I am on cloud nine. So much good stuff in the last couple of days and even in just the last hour. So, let's get to these intros here. I am your host, the aforementioned Dave Rush, also known as Commodore ADRAMADA, and you are the wind in the sails of this little get-together. You are the proud, the ADRAMADA Armada. Welcome. Hey, so we get together every Thursday because I love to research and try all kinds of technology. I love to learn, and man, this has been a learning week. This show is devoted to collecting and disseminating information about technology and its uses, and in particular, we're interested in how the advancement of technology impacts our daily and our long-term lives. And boy, we got a week full of good stuff to talk about. Topics are wide-ranging. We celebrate technology, from electric cars to electric guitars, music and movies, the synergy of energy, booting and computing and Linux and ethics. Smile. Chase to Space, two big space events for me this week, and hopefully for you as well. And all kinds of other goodies. We aren't afraid of the tough topics, so we'll talk social topics and religion, sex, and politics, and that's it. Today, if you are not watching this live, you're watching it on an archive, is Thursday, February 15th, 2024. If you're watching this later, it may not be. I didn't even bother to check to see noteworthy things that happened in today's calendar, so tough bananas. Eep, op, ork, ah. That's the big key for today. Let me see here. A couple quickie slides, a couple quickie shindigs, and then on to who's here and what are they doing and what are they saying. So, what do we got here? Should mention all this stuff. ADRAMADA has a Discord server. Come on over, enjoy it. It is all about technology and all of the formats that I've just mentioned and many more. I've just posted an invite in the chat feed. If you would like to get in contact with me, you can do that there. Just send me a DM, or if you prefer, here's a couple of emails that are good for contacting me. Beg your pardon. So last week on the show, we installed Popeye, Pop OS for the Raspberry Pi. And for me, and hopefully for you, it was particularly satisfying because for the first time in the history of drama 3 years ago and ADRAMADA for the past year, I did a computer capture instead of a VNC or a remote or something like that. So we were able to watch the installation from the boot up of Raspberry Pi. We caught the rainbow splash screen and all that good stuff. And then it hiccuped. After the installation was complete, it went blank for your viewing pleasure or displeasure. And so I did a verbal tour of the operating system. We're going to fix that today. And do a visual tour of it. Beg your pardon. How do we do this? We click on that, and then we click on that. So today we'll do a real tour, and I should explain ever so briefly what happened. The capture card that I was using, an Elgato HD60S Plus, I think, whatever. Beg your pardon. When the installer finished and it moved to real desktop, there was a resolution change in the output of the Pi, and Elgato couldn't figure that out. And I couldn't figure out what was going on because the pass-through to one of my monitors here in studio was working just fine. But then I thought about it afterward and realized that. So those problems are all resolved, and I'll talk about that when we get into project. So here is, what are we doing there? Okay, so that's what some programs running on the Pop OS desktop look like. And we'll get into that in just a little while. Itchy nose. I have a new slide. I guess I got to do this slide because this just happened in the news. I don't want to miss this. I'm not going to stick my head in here. There we go. So about, what time is it? It is 7 o'clock my time. About a half an hour ago, just over half an hour ago. Yeah. Odysseus from Innovative Machines here in Houston made what appears to be a successful soft landing near the South Pole on the lunar surface. And scary couple of minutes afterward, took them a few minutes to establish comms and get antennas kind of pointed, but they finally got faint signal, and the fact that it was able to rotate an antenna enough and we were to be able here on Earth to be able to get a faint reception indicates a soft landing. And now they just got to fine tune the antennas, and shouldn't be long before we get the first high-res pictures. It's going to be up there for a 7-day mission as far as all the experiments and digging and things like that goes. And thereafter, you know, we've sent a lot of stuff into space over the last decade and a half that ran for so much longer than anybody anticipated. So who knows how long this one will be. But off to a stellar, you'll pardon the pun, beginning. All right, we'll get back into that. Let's see what's going on with all of y'all. Hey, I didn't mail anything, but I got the last of the addresses in 2 days ago. I see one of the people who I was holding on is here, so they're all boxed. They all have addresses on them. I just got to go to the post office now, and I apologize it's taking this long, but we're ready. Yay! Alrighty, so how did it go? Tolo it in 7 hours early, followed very shortly thereafter by Shia Moonstone. Oh, I love your pink hands all the time. That should be your trademark. Patricia Grace, multitasking tonight. Have things due soon, but can't stay away. I have the same problem. Thank you for being here, everybody. Okay, and then everybody turns up the regular time. Jason Helms is here. Hope everyone is doing well. We are doing well here, likewise. Never did hear back from you about the next latest interview. I suppose no news isn't good news, but you know, you're still employed, you're still doing your thing, so but we'll get caught up on that. You're good, says Tullowit. Shia Moonstone, I'm doing great. February 15th. Did I say 15th? Today is the 22nd. Today's February 22nd. Oh, I know what happened. I got notes. I have a template that I build my notes on. And you can guess what happened. That template has a default date in there that didn't get updated. 22nd. There we go. By the way, if you're not watching this live, this was done on February 22nd, not on February 15th. Thank you for your sharp catch, Patricia Grace. You're paying attention out there way better than I am. All right. Back to massages. If you know, blah, 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 blah. You're good. Everybody's good. Beg your pardon. Stay put and relax. Sorry, bad y'all. It was me. My bad. All right. Everybody's here. Everybody's looking good. Okay. So lots of stuff in the works here, and I wanted to mention one that I just put together today. I posted the usual announcement for today's show, and I have lots of nice followers on various places where I post these things. And one of them has been following me and commenting and checking out all my posts for quite some time. A nice lady, I'm not giving away anything here because it's an accessible public forum. A nice lady named Laura Tate, who owns and operates a PC support and retail business. I don't have a full handle yet on everything that she does, somewhere on the East Coast, and I've been watching her as she watches my posts, and I thought, you know what, here's a a woman-owned business in the ideal tech world, right? This is people ask all the time. I've got my certification and I can't get an interview. I can't get hired. What do I need to do? And the answer is the bar is very high for employers these days. And so experience helps a lot. If they can hire somebody experienced, that's going to trump certifications and sometimes a degree, depending on the nature of the job. So one of the things that you can do, is to start a PC support one-person business. You don't need a storefront or any of that. You just hold yourself out to say, look, I'm ready to help. I'm ready to do it for free for the experience of it. Charge. If Andrew Hutz is watching the show tonight, he just dug out a dagger and never do anything for free. I think he charges his wife to work on their computer. I love you, Andrew. So I want to kind of get her perspective and her experience. What did it take to start it? What's it take to operate it? What's your tech background? How was your experience doing this as a woman? It's so much to ask. So I'm going to talk with her tomorrow and get a little more understanding what she's doing. And then we're going to schedule her for a trip on the show. She's already amenable to that. So that was kind of fun. Okay, Cloud9. Besides the Odysseus landing, woo! I took a tour last week, I told you guys, at a data center by one of the occupants of the data center. I didn't give you their names back then. The name of the company, they've got a couple different branches and pieces of that, but it's called Snaju, Snaju. They will be on in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and I will let them explain what the name is all about, but it's a good story and brief. So anyways, so they occupy that. They've got a couple of racks. They had one rack when I was down there a week ago. They've installed or begin to install their second rack full of servers and routers and switches and and they invited me down for the second part of the tour, which is way down far south of town. I'm far north of town, to see their NOC. And so went down there yesterday. And before I went down, everything that I knew about the company was what I had learned from them in kind of face-to-face conversation. And so I went and did a little more looking up. And they describe themselves as a full-service provider to NASA and space contractors and things like that. And I thought, okay, well, certainly what they showed me is one of those services, right? We talked about this last week, how they handle all the ISS data traffic through their conduits, and they save stuff for NASA, X months of backup and whatever. And I kind of wondered in my mind, how does that quite qualify as full service? Well, my trip down to their offices yesterday, wow! Oh, man. So I was there ostensibly to see their NOC, their Network Operations Center. Not all NOCs look like a cross between Mission Control and the big monitor wall in war games. I've seen pictures of NOCs that are like that. These guys aren't. They're not, servicing hundreds of thousands of users yet. So it's a desk, it's multiple monitors, and then they have monitor displays of what's going on all over their office, with more going in, and alarm systems and things like that. So basically, there's somebody in charge of handling problems, of watching it, and they have this system. Thank you, Tulowich, shame on you. They have this system of lights, kind of a green light, yellow light, red light thing, and audible alarms. So when the light's green, it's all quiet and the world's a happy place, and you can at a glance wherever you are in the office and see what's going on with traffic and connections and. They use Zabbix, by the way. We have not done Zabbix in here. We've done other monitor systems, so I'm going to dive a little more into Zabbix and learn a little bit more about it. In fact, I did a lot of that today. Interesting stuff. And then when there's a trouble ticket, they get a yellow light on one of their indicators. And when there's a problem, a slowdown, a DDoS attack, all kinds of whatever can happen, then the red light goes off and klaxon horns go off, and fascinating. So when they're there, when during daylight and business hours, somebody's always kind of, you don't have to sit in front of a computer and man the knock because you've got the audio alarms, you got the light alarms. But when the office closes up, they have to provide 24-hour service, certainly for NASA and for other space contractor customers. So somebody spends the night there, and you can't sit there and look at green lights all day, all night. So obviously they're doing other projects, and that's really fascinating. Well, then there was the so much more, why they are full service operators, and they're coming online here with us. So I'm just going to tease a couple of things. They have electrical engineers, they have coders, they make and service stuff that goes up on the ISS. There are, and they have some of these, and they've programmed some of them, and they've modified some of them, and 48 beagle bones on the ISS. They manage labs, they watch things, they do all kinds of things. Some fascinating things that had to be done to modify them so that they can survive on the ISS, and sometimes they're outside in space. One of them that kind of struck me was a lab called MISSE, MISSE, material. It's a material testing lab. Materials for the ISS experiment, something like that. And that's when they put various materials outside and let it live in space so that they can test it for degradation and radiation and all kinds of goodies like that. So they're going to describe it all. It's just amazingly cool. So they truly are full service. They've got they 3D print stuff in there. They have a piece of rack mount biological testing gear that started service on the ISS back in 2017. You can look this up. It's STAARS, the STARS experiment, Space Technology and Advanced Research Systems. It's got a centrifuge in there to do 1G. It's got bays to hold various biological experiments. It's loud when all the fans fire up. And however long it's been up there, they had to bring it down and hand it off to Snaju, who is doing maintenance on it, and then it's going right back up. So they're amazing. They also, their folks there some time ago created a Steam game, an MMORPG called, all one word, Riven World, Riven World. There's a good story behind its development and operation. I'm signing up for it this weekend. Scott, if you're on, sign up with me. And anybody who doesn't want to sign up but want to check it out, go to Steam. It's Windows only. They don't have a Linux version of it yet. I don't know. And there's a free demo version, and then the game itself is $10. So at least try out the demo version on Steam. Riven World, Riven World, one word. So much more. So I killed about an hour and a half down there. I could have spent a week down there. They had so much to show me, and in such little space, and just a handful of folks to handle all this. So Adam, Patrick, if you're watching, my eternal gratitude for everything that you've done so far and where we're going after this. We're going to have you on air. I'm going to set up a VPS with you guys. They're also an ISP with amazing rates. And how about this? Unlimited data in and out, because they're a tier, I think, 2 ISP with peering agreements with everybody. Their data input and output, at least at this point, is gratis. So amazing stuff. Hey, next week, the 28th, the day before the show next week, the last day of leap year February, I'm in a hands-on class all day, Ansible and Ascender for admins of Rocky, of Red Hat derivative operating systems. For me, obviously, it's Rocky. And so I will report on the show the next day. Very excited about that. One day next month, I will be traveling for a week. And I may have mentioned this last week. I do not anticipate doing a show while I'm on the road. So I'll let you know when that happens. Hey, Scott, if you're watching, you want to do the show while I'm out? That'd be interesting. Hey, Scott. Scott, watch this. I may call him up. Okay, let's see if anything missed anything here. Caps lock defeats me. See messages and check the time. Good, we're in good shape on time. If you're not watching the right one, I'm not either. That's what I get, right? I reviewed my notes just before the show. I just missed that one. It happens. Okay, messages. Blah, 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 I meant Dave's response to the pink hands. I love your pink hands. And the pink wave. Don't knock it. That's the worst pun you may have ever done. Tell what shame. So, says Jason, I wound up buying that nice gaming PC, right? I saw some pictures. Got it. Got a message saying Windows couldn't load, so I went to pull the hard drive. It's an NVMe, so I had to buy an adapter to hook up to a PC and check it out. Okay, I have the same thing. I think I have somewhere here in my tiny little pile on my left side a little NVMe to USB adapter, and they are really useful. They sent you an untested PC. Built my own. Nobody to blame but me. It's one of the auction things. When I knew something was up for the price I paid for it. I share that. I bought a Craigslist thing. 2.5 hour drive to go get it each way. When I got there, the price was too good to be true, so I knew there was going to be something. And oh, you know what I just noticed? It's missing this belt. So well, we checked the motor. We checked the thing that it drives. They were all smooth. The pulleys were fine, and the belt cost me after shipping about $16. It hasn't arrived yet. Everything else looks like you would expect somebody who didn't know how to fix it to look. But that's the only thing that I can see wrong, so I'll let you know. All right, let's do some slides here. Radio Shack is not dead. My missus went to South America 2 weeks ago. While she was down there, she ran into this store. In fact, she went to Aruba, which is just off the coast of South America, but it's part of South America. And so she had to go in and get a souvenir for hubby. And so, yeah, I can guess you. Little box here. There's a little LED embedded screwdriver in here. I will never open it. This is the last Radio Shack product. It actually says Radio Shack on it. Somewhere here on top. So Radio Shack still exists. Here's a cool story. Text story. Oh, there's something of a closer view of it. Well, that's interesting. I didn't notice the car here. That's our car, but it goes by a different name in South America, which is usual. The Japanese are going to launch a wood encased satellite this summer. Why? Well, first of all, they went and tested a bunch of wood with the MISI system, the materials at the ISS, a bunch of different species of wood to see what could handle space the best, and what rotted, what didn't rot, what withstood the radiation out there, what withstood the UV out there, and so forth. Because of reports that when a low Earth orbit, an LEO satellite, falls back to the Earth, it burns up, right, when it gets into the upper atmosphere. Well, the problem is all the housings are aluminum, and that aluminum accumulates in the atmosphere for years. And so they said, we want to put something up there that at least doesn't pump out so much metal and aluminum and whatever. So they tested some materials. They came up with their favorite one. I think it is magnolia wood. And they're calling it lignosat, right? Lignite and wood. And so they're going to send one up in it's summer. They haven't picked which of two launches. Oops, that's a Z. There we go. And so that should be kind of cool. Jokingly known in the industry as the Timber satellite. And don't read any of that nonsense. Samples were sent up there. Little signs of damage because there's no oxygen in space. It doesn't cause wood to rot or burn, and no living creatures to cause rot. So, okay. I mentioned to you that I switched search engines, and I am deep into the experiment now. Search engine I'm using is called Presearch, and I made it my primary search engine now. It's promising. From my mention previously, it's a decentralized search engine, has nodes all over the world. You could be a node. Just pop their little piece of software in your machine. It runs in the background when your machine is on. And what happens is a central machine gets your request. It sends it out to a variety of nodes. They do a search on any of the common existing search engines out there, and they each all send their results back to the main query server, who conglomerates the results and presents them to the querier, the asker, the person. Performance has been acceptable. There are some searches I found to be a little bit slow. Big deal. You know, we're talking about the difference between 200 miles an hour and 205 miles an hour. So I can live with that. What I thought was really interesting as I went digging a little further into their system, I said, what does it take to be a node? Well, you can be a Windows machine. You can be a Mac machine. You can be a Raspberry Pi. You can be a Raspberry Pi. So I've got some Pis sitting up here that don't do much during their lives. Every now and again, I'll say, oh yeah, I need one that's not committed to something else. I'll use that. So they're research machines. But I probably have 5 of the 60 or so Pis that I'm doing that are mostly idle. So I didn't get around to it this week, but over the next couple of days, I will turn it into a Presearch node and see what there is to learn about that. I think it's interesting. I think it's fascinating. Open source firmware. Okay, Mac users, close your ears. This means nothing to you. However, Raspberry Pi users, other computer users, certainly Intel PC-based systems, they have BIOSes, which are going by the new name UEFI. And those BIOSes are usually written on contract by American BIOS or the other one. I should know its name. I actually know the CEO. I went to his wedding a couple of decades ago in India. Sorry, American Megatrends, AMI. There we go. Shankar, my old friend, but we haven't seen each other in a couple of decades either. At any rate, there is an effort out there called Open Source Firmware. The actual name of it is Libre Boot. And you can replace your AMI BIOS, your Megatrends BIOS, whatever, with this open source firmware in certain computers. And they just did an update on January 26th for new hardware, new computers. It's available for x86 machines, x64 machines, of course, and ARM machines. Supports Grub, CBIOS, core boot payloads. It's got an automated build system. If you're not playing in this world, it doesn't mean much to you, but it's available for download right now. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you the link to that just for your own curiosity. I may pursue a piece of hardware that's designed for it just to give it a run. We'll take a look at the regular UEFI BIOS, and then we'll look at Libre Boot. It should be interesting. What do we got here? Introduce support for new mainboards, including Dell Latitude 6530, HP EliteBook 820 G2, Compaq Elite 8300, blah, 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 blah. Some variants of Lenovo ThinkPad. That's pretty cool stuff. The Germans have come up with the answer. I am of German extraction, so I am allowed to do this, they tell me. The great question. I never thought about this as a great question, but somebody had this as a question, and the Germans have decided to pursue the answer to this. You are trapped out in a thunderstorm. There is lightning. There is a chance you're going to get hit by lightning. Now, I was going through research on this week, and lay down or stoop or whatever, and cover your ears for the loud boom that's coming. If you feel your hair begin to stand up, whatever. Okay, fine. But here's one of the things that they asked about and pursued an answer for that I never thought about. Is it better to be wet or dry? And if I were to hazard a guess, I have one, having some fundamental understanding of electricity. But so they dug into this. They made a bunch of human head analogs, tested them with various high voltage electrical strikes in various degrees of wet and dry states, and then they checked the internal damage. Best outcome? A good drenched head shows the least internal damage, and that makes intuitive sense to me because electricity doesn't travel through things unless it has to. It travels along the surface. So we give it some nice ionized water, and a lot more current is going to travel on the outside of your skin. You may wind up with some burns and some marks if you're nice and wet. But, if you're nice and dry, a lot of good wetness inside there that says, come on, baby. So if you're out in a thunderstorm and there's no way to get someplace safe, go soak your head. I'm going to chalk this one up to settled science is never truly settled. In 1931, a fossil in the shape of a lizard was discovered in the Italian Alps. It is a particularly important fossil for several reasons. One, it has fossilized soft tissue. Scientists, paleontologists just go gaga over that, right? Because we don't know what color skin was and how thick skin was and other soft tissues. So, wow. They gave this thing a name. I'll try and pronounce it. Tridentinosaurus antiquus. I'm probably pretty close on that. It is the only one of its kind ever found, and so it is considered a bridge species that help us understand the evolution of certain lizards, lizardology, herpetology. Papers have been written on it. Books have been written on it. Settled science. Au contraire, mon frère. A recent study of the fossil determined that the soft tissue was, in fact, black paint. In fact, the entire fossil is a fake. It's black paint on a carved lizard-shaped rock surface. I just eat that up. Just because I love how science always says, we now have the answer, and it just takes a couple of decades, and you know what? We were totally wrong about that. If you're familiar with the Getty Kuros, one of my favorite stories, it's a fake sculpture from ancient Greece that was accepted as real for many decades. So this is Getty Kuros all over again. All right, that's all of the slides for that. I got some slide. I think I have a slide or two for the show. What are we doing here? Do that. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So that's about perfect. Let me see what you guys are talking about, and then we will grind into our program for today. Sorry, just reading notes here. There we go. Beg your pardon. Reading. Is Phoenix Bio still around? I haven't seen a Phoenix BIOS in 10 or 15 years, other than a legacy machine. So, but that doesn't prove anything. They may still have a niche. Got me there. But those were the two big guys, AMI and Phoenix, in their day. Fakery abounds in science. Sadly, I love science and it pains me. I understand that, but me too. When any minute now we'll find that the Odysseus landing was faked. It's Capricorn 1 all over again. Jason Helms, I have a question. Is there a rule of thumb to boot into BIOS? Some PCs have you press F8, F12, F11. No, there is no rule. It is whatever the manufacturer has contracted from the BIOS writer. The BIOS writer may have some alternatives. They look at, if you want to do this and you want to do this and you want to do this, then you're going to have to use F11 instead of F8. But yeah, F1, F2, F8, F11, F12, very common. Absolutely no standards. And that's one of the things that that I used to talk about a lot in classes when I was helping people prepare for certain certifications, because there was mythology out there. I got a question on a test that asked me which F key to press to get into the BIOS setup program. No, you didn't. CompTIA, and nobody else asked that because there is no single answer to it. The answer is there is some keystroke or combinations of keystrokes, but absolutely no rule of thumb, no standard. Good question, Jason. Thank you. Moonstone, for me to get into the BIOS, it usually is delete or escape keys. Yeah, again, it varies by machine. But you have an HP. I have no HPs anymore. Dell. You're missing an L on that, Tullowit. We're even. Okay, do I have things set up and operational here for... Press hate it. Appreciate it. I like press hate. I was watching a webinar today, the usual Thursday webinar that I watch, and there is an occasional presenter on there who uses an account called Demo User. Demo User at the name of the server he's logged into. And every time I see that, I see D-Mouser. And it takes me a moment or two to catch up on that. So same thing, press hate. All right, am I connected and able to get to the world? Yeah, I am. All right, so let's talk. I don't need that. I need this. Real VNC. Oh, isn't that just cool? They look the same. All right, that's all running. So let me talk a little bit about what it took to get to what we're going to do today. So last week, as I said, we installed PopPi, pop exclamation point underscore pi, which is the Pi version, the Pi port of Pop OS. Very good operating system. It's like Ubuntu. It's based on Ubuntu. It's got a few extra bells and whistles, and it's pretty cool. So we did this install yesterday. We were able to watch because of a capture card, and then the capture card glitched out because of a resolution change in the process. And I realized that night, that if I'd simply disconnected from the capture card and reconnected, it would have resynced up and we could have continued on visually. But I worked on that after the show a little bit last week and on the next day. And here's the deal. A week before the show, I started slugging it out, trying to get VNC working on it. And I didn't find anything satisfactory. I got it kind of working, but it was not good. It had wrong screens on it, and it had its own fake X11 screen, and ugh. So I started playing with Pop OS in much greater detail in preparation for today's show. And along the way, I found a program called X11 VNC. It's a VNC server and X11 server that installs in a couple of seconds. And then I tested what I had been testing with all along. First of all, I tried the Microsoft Remote Access, MSTSC, the Terminal Node Controller. And all I got was a gray screen. No good there. I tried Real VNC, which I use to VNC to all of my Raspberry Pis. And this is a Raspberry Pi. Didn't work. Gray screen. I tried the Tiger VNC viewer. Poof! It came up. Huzzah! I have a solution. I don't have to use the capture card. I can do Tiger VNC viewer with today's show. Wonderful. But that bothered me. It's not enough. I gotta make Real VNC work. So I'm staring at it. I'm trying different settings. Nothing. And then something dawned on me. It said, you know, it's been a long time since I updated the version of the Real VNC viewer. So I checked to see what version it was, and it had come out around June of last year, 23. And I checked to see what the most current one was, and the most current was from January 24. Okay, why not? Upgrade. So I upgraded and gave it a try. Pff, came up. So I have two VNC viewers that work absolutely beautifully. One is even a little bit better than the other. I'm using the Real VNC one that I use to capture Pi stuff. So very excited. And with that, let us start our thing here. So let me check my notes here. Problem solved. Did that. There will be no audio buzz because I'm not piping audio through here. Real VNC doesn't allow audio through unless you cough up real money for a license. Okay, so it's based on the current long-term release of Ubuntu 22.02. Uses a genome-based desktop. I mentioned a lot of this stuff last week. It uses a very current kernel which supports native read and write to NTFS partitions. That is exciting because that means if you have an SMB or Samba NAS out there, a network addressable storage, you can use NTFS permissions and POP will understand them and take advantage of them and provide appropriate logins and all that good stuff. Its process scheduler is really cool. It drives more resources to windows and applications that are in focus, the one you're mostly focused on. So you get higher performance out of a focused window than on background windows. And, you know, it doesn't slack on background windows. So it's cool. It's not perfect. We have checked out a fair number of operating systems in Drama and ADRAMADA, and mostly we use very lightweight operating systems. They boot quickly. They don't suck up much memory. They don't suck up much hard drive space. We've done Real Ubuntu. That one's kind of an exception. Well, so therefore is POP. It boots pretty slow. It takes about 2 minutes to boot, and there are some apps that come up a little slow. Now, 3 possible reasons. 1, it's a big OS. It's not designed to be small and efficient. 2, I don't have a high quality micro SD card in there. It's not one of the good brand name ones. I just grabbed one at random. That will change for next time I do a project on this machine. So that may be contributing to slowness. And this is a Pi 4, which is, you know, top of the line up until a couple months ago. I expect Pi 5, which runs about twice as fast as Pi 4, to be notably better. All right, let's go share it here. So there's the Pop OS or Pop Pi desktop. And what do I have to do here to get there? I got to go over to this. Oh, am I lying here? Ah, that's a screenshot. Hang on, momentito. Real VNC. Yeah, okay. That's not a screenshot. There we go. So one of the things you didn't get to see last week is after you do an installation, there needs to be updates. And it takes a couple minutes for it to figure it out once you get your network connection. But if you look down here across the bottom, you'll see next to the right-hand most icon, a little box kind of looks faint orange, and it has a number 1 in a circle. Well, when that thing first came up, there was a much higher number in a circle, 60-something, 80-something, I don't remember what it was. That tells you how many installed things, in operating system, key, core files, applications, whatever, need to be updated. So let's do an upgrade real quick just to see the process. By the way, you could still open up the terminal and do sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade, but that will only upgrade apt installed packages. This will install and update all your system files, all of your snap installed files, all of your apt installed files. So pretty cool. All right, so this is the Pi Shop, not Pi Shop, it's the Pop Shop. We use Pop Shop in Pop because this is a transitional operating system for people who want to dabble in the Linux experience, and they're coming from a zero background in Linux. They come from Windows and they're used to the Windows Store. They're coming from Macs and they're used to the Apple Store. So, okay, they've taken the store and made a store in here. And it's pretty complete, but not everything is in here. So if I want to do an update or an upgrade, I click on the hamburger menu up here, and it says updates and installed software. I can control I, or you can just click on this thing. So we will click on this. And here it shows me all of the updates for all of the apps and installed systems and so forth. You can see there's nothing to the right of all of these things down this list, except this very first one. And I don't know how long this is going to take, so I'm not going to do it right now. But you can see I could update an individual one here by clicking update. What I did after I did the install in here and says update all, that took a little while. But that's the process. Really easy. And then that one in the circle goes away. As a store, I may as well stick with this thing right now. Popular picks. And this changes day to day. Postman is very popular, though. That one's stayed in there for a few days. Recently updated in the repositories. There's a PlayStation 2 emulator in here. Cartridges for game launching. There's Libre Wolf. There's always good stuff in here. And then there's all the categories of stuff. So, I don't know. If you go into games, you will, at least if you're me, you'll spend forever here. Now, you can use the search bar up here on top and put in a category of stuff like VNC. Give this a second. Hard to see right now, but here in the middle of the screen, this little eyeball is actually spinning circles. Is that an eyeball? I don't know what it is. It's Popeye. It's a Popeye. But momentarily, eventually, this is one of the slow things that I'm talking about, and I'm not sure where the slowness is coming from. It is gathering up all of the fun and games, and it will display them to us. So while that's waiting, let me go check my notes here and see what I've got to talk about. Let's see, before we're updating. Oh, yeah, I got to show you. Okay, here it comes. By the way, I tried to do that update right away, and it said, this isn't going to happen. And I will explain why, because that's really important, and I have something so cool to show you. Anyway, recently updated games. Here's all of the updated games organized alphabetically. And there are many, 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 many here. And you get the idea. Bug Dom, Cave Story, chess, lots of chesses. Chromium, and there's zillions of other categories of stuff. Productivity, editing, graphics, internet, things like browsers and things like that. Brave browsers in here. So that's kind of cool. Let me shrink that back down. I want to show you something. So when I went to do the first update, it said you only have 800 megabytes of free space in here. Now, I thought wrongly that when you did the install, Pop automatically expanded the file system to take advantage of the whole card. I was wrong. So what you have to do, and I want to show you this utility, is that's my application launcher. Just like hitting the Windows Start button and typing in a program here. There's a program here called Disks. And you can see that's the first one in the search results, so I can just hit enter, or I could click that. Select my SD card and check this out. So when I first came up here, it says there's a 267 megabyte FAT, and then it said there was an 8.3 gigabyte Linux partition. And what's really cool about this is you can resize the disk on the fly. You can format it, can benchmark it, wake up, drive settings. Come here, you. Oh, here it is. Use the gear cogs and select resize. And so I dragged it from 8.3 gigabytes to 32. And you can see I can expand this even more. Let's do it. Let's take it to 40 gigs. Anything else, any other operating system that I'm familiar with, after you do a resize, requires a reboot. Can I get that extra 0.1 in there without going over? Come on. No. I could manually type it. Maybe I should just do that. 40 gigabytes. And I hit the resize button, and wango tango, it's a 40 gig partition now. I still got another 22 gigs to play with. And I'm done. I don't have to reboot. Everything is ready to rock and roll. That is just cooler than all get out. All right, so we can run anything in here. If I want to run that X11 VNC or any other installed program that I have, X11, there it is, pops right up, and I can run it from here. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is the installed applications. We click down here, show installed apps, and there's 4 categories of them. The library home, here's X11 VNC. Here's the installed office productivity apps. I haven't added any more to that. Here's my system management apps. Here's system utilities. And then I could make my own categories and put programs in there if I like. So again, very graphical oriented. You can also get to that same program by clicking the applications space up here on top. I skipped over one, workspaces. Workspaces are alternative desktops. And you can make an unlimited number of them. Hey, system updates are available. I don't want to do that right now. So Windows has 2 desktops. This thing can do tons more. Your file explorer, of course, this thing starts in the root directory. So if I want to go work in my home directory, oh, I'm sorry, this worked. It's in home now. I've reprogrammed it. But you can go up, you can go down, you can browse for things. I put something in pictures, screenshots today, because I took a screenshot of it, the Pop OS desktop. All right, we took a look at that. This is the last thing I'm going to show you. This is the last of our tour, except for some stuff up there. This is the settings tool that is the same settings tool, 99%, as the one that you find in Ubuntu. So if you want to control your Wi-Fi settings, if you want to control your network settings, your Bluetooth, manipulate your desktop, how it works, all of this stuff is the same. For sharing, you can turn on remote desktop, and at least on the x86 version of it, you would go in here and set a password and then use Microsoft MSTSC. But not the case. Oh, it's going slow again. Sorry, I'm stuck here. And probably if I muck with this, I will break my connection, but I'm just about done with the presentation. You can add other things down to this dock. You can change the characteristics of the dock so that it doesn't extend side to side, end to end. Let me see if I can get out of there without hurting anything. Yeah, okay. Up here, we've got more show desktops. You see the X11 VNC server running. That's my disk management thing. There's logins and logouts. So, really friendly, easy to use operating system by anybody coming from the Mac world or the Linux world. I'm sorry, the Windows world. Let's get out of there. Go back to head. All right, now we can close this. You want to disconnect? Yes, I do. So, it's a neat operating system. Great for an x86 system. Okay for Raspberry Pi 4. I expect better on Raspberry Pi 5. You couple this with Raspberry Pi 5 and you have a valid candidate as a potential daily driver. Should have worn a NASA shirt today, right? Not a Star Wars shirt. All right, where are we at on time here? Cool, 4 minutes to go. Let's see who's saying what, and then we will wind up the show for today. Sorry, checking notes here. Oh, too late. I've already broken out of it. SSH is not installed by default, an SSH server, and it's not in the store. It's not in the POP store. So you've got to open up the command prompt and do a sudo apt install open ssh-server. Okay, now you got SSH. Hey, I'm going to see if I can do this today. When I wave off, I'm going to try to ignore the awkward stare for a few minutes. All right, Dell. Appreciate it. So I use X11 VNC. It's easy to use. Exactly right. I was so impressed. I've never used it in the past. It's in all my Raspberry Pi repos. So I'll be looking at that real closely for some of the other things. I realized today I've been calling the SanDisk SD card wrong all my life, calling them ScanDisk. Okay. You wouldn't be the first. ScanDisk is a good name for it. Pop! OS Software Center seems like it has more promise than Genome Software. Yes and no. Again, there are things in the APT and the Snap repos that aren't in the Pop Shop. But still, it's pretty darn good. Hey, well, that takes us to the close of yet another Thursday. I will be back again next Thursday. I'm not traveling yet. I expect to be here for the next 2 weeks. And after that, sometime in the following 4 weeks, probably in the following 2, I will be out on the road for a couple of weeks. Got some really cool stuff going on. We've got Laura Tate coming on, owner-operator of PC Wizard. We have one or more people from Snaju coming on. And I do go check out Riven World. I'm going to. I've looked at some of the reviews on it, some of the plays. I haven't actually tried to play the game yet. I'll explain why I'm reluctant, and it has nothing to do with the game or Steam. The Windows machines that I have on here, some I wouldn't trust running something as powerful as a Steam game on, and the other, I have it dedicated to particular tasks. So I just... No, can't do that. Okay. All right. Anybody else got anything to add, say? Because otherwise, let's close this puppy down. That's a good thing to do. Got real VNC working. No go schedule. All right. This is the perfect time to close her down then. So as ever and always, I wish you a great rest of the week. Take care of each other. Take serious steps to stay healthy. And if at all possible, call or visit your parents. And never forget, technology is great, but the greatest resource we have are you and I. And with that, I bid you good night. I'll see you on ADRAMADA next Thursday, the other platforms that I'm on. And until then, remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. Eep, op, ork, ah.